I'm in disagreement with you. The problem is that some people who don't like Islam, take for example their books, they actually read the Quran, and there are some passages that talk about like fighting infidels or something. And it is complex to interpret the Quran in the correct way. And there's a common attack on the Quran is that these right-wing extremists say that there are sources that say the Quran may not be interpreted, but it has to be taken literally word for word. And this is kind of a very narrow-minded reading of some problematic passages that they extend to all Islam afterwards. But for that to go away, this is a long fight. Not fight with a physical fight, but a fight with words and with arguments, and mainly with persistence. And especially showing people that 10 or 100 times of the more that people are from Islam countries and not from, say, Western countries, that you suffer much more. But this is not something you will achieve overnight, but you really have to tell them again and in small circles, and especially very unemotional. Because the moment you get emotional, people react very defensive on that. And Christianity in Europe had for the I think 7 crusades we did to the Arabic countries, we had 70 wars with people, church against the common people here, to fight or to get to a situation that we have today, that we have relative religious freedom. So people are really antsy about any religious dogma invading their life again.
I want to say 2 comments. You are totally right about understanding the Quran, because actually we Arabs suffer in understanding the Quran because the Quranic Arabic is different from the spoken Arabic we speak. So to understand it really, you have to read the interpretations of the Quran, the trusted interpretations that you can understand. It depends on the scholars who interpret it in the first. But the language could be very hard for a Western to understand the verses about fighting and war and this stuff. And also Quran couldn't be interpreted out of context. So that's why these misconceptions appear. And number 2, concerning the idea of you mentioning people going out from religion, this is probably because religion at some time people abused it to force oppression and power, and this is in history, and I studied this myself, the idea of going away from the Roman Church. But if they just give it a chance to understand Islam, they will find it compatible with civilization and justice and science and everything. But I understand that people just have this idea that religion is oppression, is going out from knowledge, is just following the church or whatever, the symbol of religion. So scholars and imams can abuse religion in this way to control people. I understand that very much. But in fact, Islam is not about that at all. But I understand.
Yeah, but just small. What some people suggest that we in the West need some kind of 21st century interpretation of the Islam that connects the traditional Islamic ways with modern society and the expression of freedom. Like there was 200 years ago with Christianity doing that. Aufklärung in English. Sorry? Sorry? Yeah, something like that. The European version of doing that. And Enlightenment, thank you. Yeah, the European enlightenment of Christianity, and then we need something for that with Islam as well to connect people again.
Further interest?
Yes.
He was since 5 minutes reading this.
Because now we have this whole discussion again on why Muslim fundamentalists, what is the reason behind it, or what do they think? But to just come directly back to an answer on Stella's question, fundamentalism is a part of any religion or ideology. Do not forget the religious right in America, for example, who are, to me, as fundamentalists in their beliefs and in their words and in their actions as Al-Qaeda or Islamic fundamentalists. So I mean, it's not a discussion that should focus on Islamic fundamentalism, but on fundamentalism as in general.
And if you would go to if you would go to look for the reasons for, I mean, everyone has a personal opinion, even I have. But if you go for the reasons, why does it happen? You see it in regions, you see it in societies where a lot of injustice is going on, and I think it sounds simple, but this is one of the major causes of any fundamentalism. If there is injustice going on, people try to find ways to go out of it, and some find extreme ways to do it. If you have people who are poor, whose parents are killed, the whole family is killed, and someone gives them a weapon and say, here's your enemy, and if you kill the enemy, everything is fine. And this guy is not educated and has nothing to lose anymore. You find in every culture, you find some point, some reason and legitimate with whatever you like to. So I think we cannot discuss in general, not we, I mean in general, often this is very much discussed on the surface that I think extremism or terrorism is a kind of, it's a result of something deeper, what's going wrong. And yeah, if you see it in the countries, if you see, don't want to use, we can go all over the world, but if you look in Iraq, what's going on, you see terrorism. Yeah, but you know what happened 10 years before and what happened before, so you cannot discuss terrorism in Iraq without telling what happened before, the 20 years, 30 years, 50 years before. And that's what very often happens, that people take out one thing and there's a symptom and want to discuss that and make it easy, and usually it's not that easy that you can blame one group, one person, one people, yeah, that's the reason and now you should change this. But this is again, this is also part of the contribution now. Yeah, and I mean, it's normal. This is what the discussion here. This is what affects everyone, and everyone has some more or less emotion in that. This is what happens. But again, people know that about Islam. That is exactly what's also going on in Germany. We discuss that. If we have discussion groups, we discuss all these terrorism things. But people are more. Muslims are more confronted with that topic than ask about their own religions. Things like sometimes the youngsters are more informed about the issues about terrorism and what Islam says about terrorism than about the basics. And this is a bit weird. It's a bit strange, but okay, it has to be communicated. Yeah, you have raised your hand also, says well.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to bring the discussion a bit away from this terrorism issue, because actually I just realized right now, because we had three topics actually during our event. The first one, which we already talked about, was immigration and integration. In Maastricht we are going to be talking about social inequality, which is actually also related to this fourth pillar of Islam that you were mentioning with all this giving 2.5%. And here we came actually to Aachen to talk about gender equality. And this reminds me of, one thing, because when we entered here, we saw that there were some men praying in the room. And I asked him, what were the women, no? So, yeah, I would like to also ask you maybe.
My mom can tell better, because she was, when this mosque was built first, the first version. There was one praying room, and men and women prayed in the same room, right? And later on, when this extension was made, we had this balcony, the second floor, and nowadays the women play upstairs, pray upstairs. Sorry?
tell her why.
Yeah. If you leave me, if you let me do so, I do so. There's sometimes the misconception that people say man and woman in Islam pray apart, which I would not fully agree. It's not that they pray apart, they pray the same prayer, they pray at the same time, they pray the same way. It's just that, as you know, the praying in Islam is also some physical thing. And you, for example, you saw the men standing shoulder to shoulder. And if you would mix man and woman, this simply distracts you from prayer, from focusing to your God. If I how to say, if I bow, if I go down in front of God, and there are people behind me, it's not always nice for a lady to do so in front of men, for example. So it's just you put that they pray the same prayer, but they don't pray shoulder to shoulder or directly mixed in front of each other. That's simply it. There's of course, yeah, you can talk a lot about gender or equalities. We face a lot. I should not answer that. We have two women here. I give a start, and you continue. We have a lot of these discussions that men are not don't have the same right, and about men are more worth than women, etc. Which are, I have to say it, you know it, I would say it, these are misconceptions. I would say more that Islam takes care of that men and women are not exactly the same. Men don't give birth, women do, simple thing, and Islam takes care of that, but they have the same value. They of course have the same value, and this is, we have sometimes, even in Islamic families, where people don't have the right picture, where it's very handy for the man to say, I'm the boss, and the rest has to shut up. But this is not the right thing. This is not the thing what Islam tells us about. There's a very sensitive relationship between man and woman, and they should respect each other, of course. And we have sometimes old traditions which went to the wrong way over the years, but this is not rooted in Islam.